spirits. And for the last few days, I keep getting back mental equivalence. So I'm going to start out with the law itself. We teach that God is love and God is law. And the law is the subjective mind that receives your thoughts or actions, no matter what they are. There's a part of the God within us that does not question, just receives and responds. So we really get that. We really understand that it does not stop and say, does that make sense? Can you do it? Are you crazy? None of that. It just receives your imprint, your thought, and begins to work on it. Now the love piece may whisper to you, have you lost your mind? The love piece may say to you, don't do that. That's not right. But the law piece is receiving what you're saying. Very simply, if you feel like when you get ready to go to work, that when you get to work there's going to be a whole lot of confusion, your boss is going to pick on you, that's what you're believing. And that is exactly what you'll draw to yourself. So as you begin to understand that and try to change your thinking around you, the spirit of you and the love of you will remind you that you're knowing something else. And you have an opportunity to change the thought that you're giving to your mind. So I wanted to go to homes. I don't know how you feel about reading the Science of Mind. I don't know whether some of you even have the book, but I have been reading the same book for probably 28 years. And I still get nuggets, and I still go, wow. Because what I clearly understand is that this is a spiritual work. And so each time I read it, I'm not the same person who read it before. Therefore, I can find nuggets. So I'm going to share with you from the principles of successful living. The law is infinite. The science of mind is based entirely upon the supposition that we are surrounded by a universal mind into which we think. This mind, in its original state, fills all space. It fills the space that man uses in the universe. It is in man as well as outside of him. As he thinks into this universal mind, he sets a law in motion, which is creative, which contains within itself a limitless possibility. A limitless possibility. The law to which man operates is infinite, but man appears to be finite. That is, he has not yet evolved to a complete understanding of himself. He is unfolding from a limitless potential, but can bring into his experience only that which he can conceive. There is no limit to the law, but there appears to be a limit to man's understanding of it. As his understanding unfolds, his possibilities of attainment will increase. I just want you to sit with that. We're talking about an unlimited law that is infinite, everywhere present. It's in us, it's outside of us. When we think into it, it responds to us. There's no limit to this law. The limit is within us and how much we think into it. So I want to go to, I like to talk about the left. I have this relationship with Brother Rand. And so last week we got a blast about tornadoes. I was in my bed, it was about 6:45 in the morning. And my television went off with this terrible sound, and my Sprint phone went off with this terrible sound. And I jumped up and said, what? And it was an alert for a tornado. Now, how I responded to it is recognizing that there is a power and a presence within me that can turn that around. I believe that. I believe that I can speak into this law and change things. And so I got up out of my bed, went downstairs, and began to know something else. And when the report went out, it was coming down my neighborhood street, Freedom Drive. I'm on the west side. And I began to talk to the weather. I talked to the rain. I talked to the wind. And I said and did that knowing that a change was happening for the next hour. It was supposed to come through at 7:30, 7:45, I went back to my bed, laid down, said thank you very much. Now, I understand later on that there were some touchdowns in Charlotte. Normally when weather reports like this go out, I will go on the computer and I will send out a message to the congregation. But I felt at 7:30 I wasn't going to do that. Here's what I believe happens. When we hear these kinds of reports, we begin to repeat it. A tornado's coming, a tornado's coming. And we don't recognize the power that is within us, and literally, we are welcoming it into our space. Because we don't get that. When we really understand that this law we're talking about, that receives our thought, responds to our thought, then we really get it that we are responsible for our thought. We are responsible for thinking something different. We do not have to go along with the weather report. We do not have to accept it. We can look at it as a possibility and change it. So when we talk about this law, for me, I recognize that there is this power that we talk about that moves through us. And that this law works. It absolutely works. But it works only to the degree in which we believe it works. So for many of us, one of the things that seems to be coming up constantly is, where are you in your life right now? And where would you really desire to be? And what's in between that? Because as you begin to speak into this law, something for yourself, it has no choice but to respond to it. It has no choice. And see, the thing about it is that, and I don't know why my head doesn't work this way, but for most of us, we want to figure it out. How am I going to get from point A to point C? And so we take this same thought process, which is the law, and we start thinking about how it must work. If I do this, and this happens, and that happens, and this happens. So we start laying out the plan. And the fallacy of that is that oftentimes what we can see in front of us doesn't complete the plan. So when we decide how we're going to work it out and how it's going to happen, we don't actually get from point A to point C. We may get somewhere in between. And we wonder why the thing is that we desire to do doesn't show up. That's one of the problems. The other one is that we really don't believe it, that we can have a greater life. We really don't believe it. We may want it, but we don't believe it. And we stump it. You know, we sit and we say to ourselves, well, you know, my life's not bad. I have a job. I can pay my bills. And one of the things that Holmes talks about is that we can be in conflict in our jobs because it's really not what we really desire. So there's some feelings that happen inside of us because we really are not in alignment with what we desire. And what we desire is what God is choosing to experience through us. So we have cut it short. We say to ourselves, okay, I have a job, I have a degree, I'm doing well, and we have all these things happening, but in our heart of hearts, we're really not fulfilled. We really don't feel, quote unquote, happy. We really don't feel the joy of life. And part of it is because we cannot see ourselves truly doing what we desire. Really doing it. Sometimes we feel like we don't have the education. I've heard people say that so much. Well, I don't have the degree, I don't have the qualifications, da 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 da. And what I want to say back is, whose qualifications? I mean, is God asking for those qualifications? Or is the world asking for it? And see, sometimes what you bring to the table and what's in you is far greater than what you're going to get in terms of a formal education. And it really just takes nerve on your part to bring it to the table. So part of this law piece is it will work and it will demonstrate at the level at which you are willing to accept it. Can you really conceive of this thing that you desire showing up? And I talk about this a lot. You know, we may be looking for a mate, and we meet, you know, the female, we meet this guy, and oh wow, he is so awesome. And the next thing out of our mouth is, I can't believe it. And guess what? The universe goes, really? Smash, he's gone. And then you turn around and say, see, I told you. But what we don't get is it came out of your mouth. It didn't come out of God, it came out of you to the Lord. So one of the things that I think is so crucial is that we understand what we're saying and thinking, that it becomes our experience, and that we begin to seriously monitor the things that we're saying. And it goes to, from the great to the small. Okay, so we're talking about a storm. Maybe we're not ready to stop the storm. But it's little things. It's small things that we say all the time. Oh, I have to go meet with my family. You know how they are. Fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. You just put it out there that you're going to have an experience like you usually have. And if it's something that you don't like, you just put it out there for it to be fulfilled. One of the things I try to share with folks is that as you come into this teaching, you become more powerful. You have been exposed to something that a lot of people just don't get. They just think life just shows up willy-nilly. No, life shows up the way you speak it, the way you think it. So really what we're being asked and we're being challenged today is, what is it that you would like to bring into your life, speak into your life, to experience, and are you willing to experience it? Are you willing to live far greater than you do right now? Are you really willing to have a better experience in life? Or is it scary? That's that fear of success piece. Nothing new. But think of that. You've got more responsibility. There are new people in your life that you have to learn to get along with. There may be some people that have been in your life for eons that can't handle your new position. Do you want to let them go? What are you going to do about that? All this stuff is stuff that we don't want to really sit with and say to ourselves, am I ready for a change? Am I really ready for change? Am I ready to be more responsible in terms of the gift that is within me? See, with this change comes more responsibility. It might require more hours. It might require travel. It might require that you dress differently, that you carry yourself differently. It might require that you do some public speaking. And, oh, what? Stand in front of people to look like they do. You know, one of the things I've shared with you guys is that as I get out with larger crowds, people coming up and touching me has been a challenge. And I have to deal with it because I'm saying I'm choosing to be out here. So one of the experiences that I had with the organization was I'm standing in the midst of some people and they're standing there poking my clothes and my jewelry and, oh, I like this. And I'm saying to myself, oh, why are you for that? But that's how people can do. So get over it. Absolutely get over it. if this is what you're intending to do. So there are things that we really, if we're honest with ourselves, and we see ourselves moving into a different arena, there are things that change, that you may not be comfortable with, that you really have to begin to picture. So part of what I kept hearing the last few days is this mental equivalence. Mental equivalence. When we say that we desire something, we have to mentally picture it. And what is very clear to me is that God responds to our mental pictures as well as our thought process. So if you say it's 5 o'clock, what picture do you have in your mind? I see cars. I see a highway filled up with cars. But I also see a lane that's open. But we have a mental picture. If you think about your mother or your father, you get a picture of them. If you think about your car, you have a mental picture. So part of this process of being able to move forward is to mentally picture what it is that you desire and taking the time to do that. So that may require you to step out of your comfort zone. One of the things I really believe is that people stay in ghettos because they don't know there's anything else. And we stay in our comfort zone, our arena, because we don't want to step into something else. A lot of times I meet people on one side of town or the other, and what happens is they'll say, "Well, what are you doing over here?" And I don't always say this, but my immediate thought is I have a car. I can go wherever I want to go. Are you serious? And one of the things I do is if I want dessert on the east side, I go to the east side and get dessert. If I want my dinner on the south side, I go to the south side and get it. I have a car. I can go where I want to go. I can go into places that are quite expensive. It doesn't mean I have to buy everything in there. But you see, what I understand is that there is an environment in this place. There's an energy in this place that I want to suck up. So even if I go and I get just an appetizer, I have set in this space. I have felt it. And I can take that memory. Well, that's one of the gifts we have, memory. I can take that memory with me and go home and see myself in that kind of an environment. So creating this mental picture is important because one cannot receive something they cannot see. So you have to take the time to help yourself be able to see yourself in it. I spoke with somebody recently who said that they wanted to be a chef. Well, immediately in my mind, get a chef's cap. Put a chef's hat on. Stand in the kitchen and cook your food with this hat on. Because it creates an energy. And that's what you want to do. It creates a picture for you. What this law basically says is that you can have anything you desire. However,